Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive, right, into something that might seem a little, I don't know, maybe a little dry at first.
Okay.
But I think it's really interesting. And if we're talking about Power Query formulas in Excel.
Right.
And specifically, we're going to be looking at this function called Type.ClosedRecord.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really good example of kind of like, you look at a snippet of something, and it's just like one little piece.
Right.
But there's this whole world behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to help us understand that world, we've got an expert here.
Happy to be here.
So maybe we can just start with like the basics, right? What is a closed record? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So a closed record in Power Query, you can kind of just think of it as like the structure of a row in your table.
Okay.
So if you think of like a table, it's the columns that are allowed in that row.
Right.
And it's closed. So it means like there's no adding extra ones.
Gotcha. So why?
You're taking them away.
Why would you want to close it though? Wouldn't that limit you?
Yeah. So it can seem limiting.
Yeah.
But the reason that it's really useful is for consistency and predictability.
Okay.
So let's say you're pulling in data from a bunch of different places.
Right.
Different systems or,
Yeah, different departments.
Different departments. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they might track their data a little bit differently.
Okay.
So you might have, they have all the same information in theory.
Yeah.
But the columns are different.
Right. So like their tables don't match up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then when you want to pull it all together, it can be a real pain.
So this is kind of like, if you were building a house out of bricks and every brick was a slightly different size.
Yeah.
Yeah. The foundation's going to be a little messed up. The walls are going to be all wonky.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to have gaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So by using a Type.ClosedRecord, you're kind of saying, okay, like this is the standard brick. Everything has to conform to this.
Gotcha. So I'm guaranteeing that whatever analysis I do downstream, if I've got that consistent structure,
exactly,
I know what I'm working with.
Yeah, and especially if you're sharing this data with someone else.
Right, or if you're coming back to it 6 months later.
Exactly. You don't have to remember like, oh, what did this column mean again?
Totally. So what if, okay, so you've closed the record, but then you realize you need to add something to it.
Yep.
Is that possible, or are you stuck?
So yeah, you can definitely add to it.
Okay.
So Power Query is all about transforming your data, right? So you can add steps to your query that, add a new column or change an existing one.
Right.
But that closed record is always there in the background.
Okay.
So it's kind of like you have that base.
That's the foundation.
And then you can build on top of it. Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm starting to get it. Now, I'm curious though, can you give me like a real world example? Like, when have you actually had to use this?
Yeah, for sure. So one time I was working on a project where we were analyzing customer data.
Oh, okay.
And this data was coming from like a bunch of different sources, like our CRM system and maybe some marketing platforms we were using, things like that.
Makes sense.
And one of the things we were looking at was addresses.
Right.
But the way that the addresses were formatted was different in each system.
Okay.
So like some of them had a separate column for the apartment number.
Gotcha.
And some of them just like stuck it in with the street address.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it was like a real mess. And it was like throwing off our analysis because we were trying to do some stuff with geolocation.
Right.
And like if the apartment number's in the wrong spot, then it's going to like put it on the wrong place on the map.
Right.
So we used Type.ClosedRecord to define like a standard address structure.
Okay.
So we said, okay, like every address has to have these fields, street address, city, state, zip code, and then a separate field for apartment number. And that way, no matter where the data was coming from originally,
right,
it all got like forced into that same format.
And then your analysis was good.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a perfect example.
And it made the whole process so much easier.
It makes it so clear.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? Like we started with this thing that seemed kind of obscure.
Yeah.
But it's really powerful.
Absolutely.
And I think that's true for a lot of stuff in Power Query.
Yeah, I mean it's its own little world, right? It's almost like learning a new language.
It is. It's very much its own language.
Yeah.
So I guess the final thought I would leave with everyone listening is, what kind of data challenges are you facing?
Yeah, good question.
And could this be a solution? You know? Could Power Query, could Type.ClosedRecord help you solve that?
It might surprise you.
Yeah.
What it can do.
It's really powerful. So dive in and see what you can find.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really fun once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This was great.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see everybody next time.
See you later.